If you're going to think negative, your thoughts are going to impact your actions.
Even though I know you put a lot of pressure on yourself, sometimes still my message to you is like, you've got this, like lean in, work harder. If you're not happy with your performance, like get more reps, get in the gym. Welcome to the High Vibe Life podcast, where we are obsessed with all things manifestation, neuroscience, personal growth, and quite simply, living a life beyond our wildest dreams. I'm Moira Casava, author, speaker, podcaster, manifestation, and mindset master. Since getting sober 25 years ago, I've helped tens of thousands of women break through and achieve massive levels of wealth, joy, and freedom. Now it's your turn. Let's dig in. All right, welcome back to the show. Oh my goodness. First of all, my voice is so scratchy. I've had a heck of a week or two, but you guys, this podcast guest is, I have to say, my favorite of all time. Like, best of all time, favorite of all time. Nobody I ever thought really would be in the studio. Coco Kusaba, welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone.
We're nervous. We're a little nervous. We're giggly. We're nervous.
I'm Coco. I'm Moira's daughter, and I play volleyball. I'm in freshman high school, and yeah.
And we're here to chat because everybody... Okay, so here's how this went down. I think I asked on Instagram, who should I have on the show? Thinking people are going to tell me people like, Mel Robbins, have Dean Graziosi come back, like all these big names. And so many people asked for Coco, which I love because like the whole mother-daughter parent thing it's literally everything to me. It's something I'm obviously not only... a mom, and that's so important to all of us moms, but it's something that I'm fiercely passionate about pursuing. In fact, it's been it's been my number one goal this year to just pursue my children. But I am going to try to keep my mouth shut. In fact, your dad told me, let her talk because I'm a talker. So I want to ask you all the questions, and we had tons of questions come in from Instagram, from all over. So are you ready to get this started?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, as Coco said, she's 9th grade. She's 14 years old. She's involved in a lot of things.
Yes. I've danced for 10 years. I've played volleyball for maybe 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And yeah.
So let's start right there because that's where I have a lot of questions and the audience had a lot of questions. Yes. So I am curious. Here we go. What do you feel the most stress or pressure from? Is it academics, friendships, sports? What area do you feel the most pressure in?
I would say I feel the most pressure in academics because being in I'm an all-honor student, and sometimes that can be hard as a student athlete because I'm in classes with kids who don't do anything after school, and so they'll get tests back and it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and they always get hundreds, and it's hard for me because they'll be like, oh, I studied for 5 hours last night, and I was like, oh, well, I played volleyball for 3 hours last night, and I got home at 9:30. I didn't really have time to study, and I feel like sometimes that can be pressure, the academic, because it's you have to set your standard for yourself, knowing that I'm not gonna be as good as other people. I can only do what my best is instead of what other people's best are, and so I feel like academics is one thing that I definitely see the most pressure. I put the most pressure on myself in, but yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's, goodness. I mean, that is something that, even before you were born, I am very much against the pressures that we put on our kids, that society puts on our children for the academic side of things, because it's always been the most important thing for me to raise just good children, kind children. What do I always say? What's the most important thing to be?
Yourself.
That. And when you were little, I used to always say, what's the most important thing to be? And it was just kind, right? A good person versus a straight A student or this on the SAT and blah, blah, blah. So that's a whole nother subject. But ironically, here I sit with my all honors driven, I wonder where she gets it, academically gifted child. So let me ask you this. When you feel that pressure, and you and I have gone through a lot of these moments together, what do you feel helps you deal with the pressure the most?
I would say just like knowing, like for academics, I would say knowing that like I put my best in, and like that's not always going to be someone else's best, and like I can only do what I can only do. And so if getting an 85 on the math test is my best and that's my best, and someone else's might be 100, but I have to know that like God gave me a gift and it's different than other people's gifts. And so I just can't compare myself to what other people think about me and about people think about my grades and all these other things like with school. So I just have to think that like if I put the work in, then my work is going to pay off. So I feel like if I know like I studied hard for this, it's not always going to be the best outcome that you have. But if I feel like I put the work that I wanted in, then I just know that that's my best and that's what I can do.
I love that. Wow, that's a lot of mindset right there. A lot of mindset. I wonder where you get it. Gosh. So let's kind of transition away from the academic piece and how much this applies to sports. So what do you do, or what helps you when you are feeling the pressure for, maybe you walk into the gym and it's a super competitive team that you're playing, or you walk into, a weekend where, you're up against some of the best in the country. Like, how do you prepare for all of that?
For me, the way that I prepare for things and the way that I like talk to myself on the court is, because especially it's hard for me right now because I'm a freshman and I play varsity volleyball and I play all around, so I'm like constantly always on the court, and so it's not like I come on the court and go off. It's like I make mistakes, I have to stay on the court. I can't, like, based on my rotation, I don't really go off. And so for me, it's like if I'm playing back row and I say I like shank a ball, or it's just a bad pass, the next time I get that serve, I'm like, I want the ball, give me the ball, I want it, serve to me, I want the ball, I'm taking this ball. And that really helps me to like get in the mindset of, instead of, oh no, I just messed up, I don't want the ball, I really don't want anything to do with it. Mm-hmm. It's more of like flip the switch of, I want it, it's my ball, I want to change my game, I want to do better. So it's always like talking myself up than like dwelling on what I just did wrong, because my volleyball coach says volleyball is a game of mistakes, and so there's never a perfect volleyball game, and you can never play perfect, and so every player is going to make mistakes, and every player is going to mess up, and you're going to have a bad game, and that's just something that you just have to kind of get over. And instead of like thinking on it, you just have to be like, okay, next game, next point, next play, instead of being like, oh no, I just messed up, oh no, I just missed my hit. You just have to think, I'm going to do better next time. I'm going to get a kill. I'm going to do this. I got this.
Oh, wow. Mad self-talk game there. I love it. I'm a little afraid to ask this next question.
Oh, no.
But I'm not going to be as guilty as your dad, probably. I laugh. But two different things. What do you need to hear? What do you want to hear from parents during the game while we're in the stands? And probably very different answer, what do you want to hear after, depending on win or loss, right? So during the game, what do you like to hear and see in the stands?
For me, I'm a player that I don't like for someone to be like, good job, Coco, yay, good job. I like someone to be like, hey, you got it, get the next one. Like, I don't want to just have, like, I like to be congratulated, but I am very much of a tough love person. Like, I like for someone to be hard on me. But at the same time, like, sometimes my dad will get on to me and, like, he really does not know volleyball. So, like, he'll just, like, yell. And sometimes I get upset, but at the same time I have to think, like, man, like, there's people out there whose parents don't come to the game. And there's people they don't have anyone in the stands. And I get to be a parent, I get to be a player that has two parents in the stands, a brother in the stands, people who come to watch me. Mm-hmm. And I just had to think about that and being, like, it's such a gift instead of taking it as, oh, I don't like this. This is so annoying. Like, why are they yelling? It's more of, wow, like, my parents get to watch me play volleyball, and there's a lot of people who don't get to watch their child play and stuff. So I think that's something that I have to always think about is, like, think on the bright side instead of, like, always thinking negative, because if you're going to think negative, then that's probably because your thoughts are going to impact your actions. So I think if I hear my dad yell at me or something on the sideline, then I'm going to probably mess up that next play because I'm thinking about people yelling at me and messing up. And if I think on the positive side, I'm more likely to get a better hit or a better kill because I'm more in the mindset of I'm going to do this instead of why did I just do that, instead of moving forward instead of back.
Totally get that. Okay, so we'll keep yelling positively from the stands.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously, if you've won a game and you've crushed it, there's hugs, there's tears, there's all the happy things. But obviously, there's games where I know that you feel like you played bad, or I know it was a really tough loss that you guys took and you didn't show up the way you guys wanted to. Do you want, after the game, like, space? Do you want empathy? Do you want a hug? What do you feel like helps the most?
I really like space. Like, I like to just, like, because sometimes I also get in the habit of, like, my actions will, like, if I'm mad or if I'm angry about a game, that'll turn my actions into, like, not yelling at my parents, but if they're, like, talking to me, sometimes I'll be, like, I get an aggravated state instead of, like, a positive. So sometimes, like, my mom will know, like, sometimes the car is silent on the way home when it's a loss. And it's just, that's just stuff that, like, happens. And I would say that, like, I don't like, after the game, I don't like for, like, if I have a loss, for them to be like, God, good job, like, you got the next one. Like, that's not my type of personality. I want someone to be like, hey, good job, but that was not really y'all's best. But I know you can do better next time. Just stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that. You want the truth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and space a lot of times. Because what I hear you saying, too, and what I know about you, is if you are in that aggravated state and you snap, or you're, not your wonderful, normal self, then you feel bad. You feel worse because now you're, like, mad at yourself because you just, weren't the kindest or something like that.
I agree.
So it's like... Space is good. Okay, so, well, here's an interesting question from somebody. Obviously, I'm like this master mindset coach, so I'm like, and I try not to burden you with all of that, but I do sometimes. I mean, it gets weaved into every single conversation because it's just who I am and how I operate. And I've been in there to, like, coach your teams sometimes through mindset stuff and high performance. But for everyone else that might not be a mindset coach, how do you think, the question is this, what are the best ways a parent can support their student athlete, especially when it comes to mindset? So what would you say?
I would honestly say, like, one of the best things that I think my mom does is she, like, understands my level of what I can kind of take on. Sounds kind of weird, but she knows. She's like, Coco, like, you've had such a long week. Like, let's go to Target. Let's go do something fun. It's like, I feel like that is such an important thing as a parent, is to not pressure your kids into being like, one more workout, go to practice, do this. It's like, your kid goes through so much. Like, just let them have fun for a little bit and let them go do something fun with them. Because for me, it's like, my mom is more of I don't want to say, like, she's a friend to me, but it's like, we have, like, such a good, like, best friend relationship. And I feel like that's something that's so important, is, like, instead of telling your kid that they need to keep going, it's like, hey, let's take a step back and let's go do something fun. Let's get your mind off of it. And let's just go do something that's totally not what you do every single day, which is volleyball, which what I do is I go to school for 8 hours, volleyball, and then I go home. So it's like the days where I have off, it's like we take advantage of that and we're like, let's go do something that's going to bring us joy and we're going to, like, forget about everything else and just go have fun.
Which sometimes is Target.
Yes, or TJ Maxx.
Or TJ Maxx. I love that, but here's something interesting, because you are you and I am me, and you're a hard driver. Like, you go. Like, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and so a lot of times that's where I'm trying to bring the balance. So there is this tricky balance. Even though I know you put a lot of pressure on yourself, sometimes still my message to you is, like, you've got this. Like, lean in, work harder, If you're not happy with your performance, like, get more reps, get in the gym. We can get you, whatever, private training or something. But then there's that fine line that you cross where we've had a lot of conversations. And for me, I see it as like when you literally break down. Like, there's those moments of breakdown that I'm like, then I have to teach you it's okay to completely stop. Like, it is okay to, even at your level, if you don't need to maybe you don't need to go to practice one day, and of course you're never going to let that happen. But I give her permission to stop, like, permission to stay home from school if you want to stay home from school. Like, sometimes you need that, because I feel like that's what's wrong with so many kids, is we push them to the brink of literally breaking.
And I would say also, like, this doesn't even have to be with, like, athletes. This can just be with, like, your average, just like a child who doesn't do sports or doesn't. It's just, I feel like for me, I feel like my mom, I'm so open to my mom, and so I can go to her and be like, Mom, I need a break, and she'll be like, okay, you're not going to practice, or you don't have to go to workouts this morning. And it's not that she like isn't holding me accountable. It's that I'm so hard driven on myself. I'm like, I got to get up. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to go to workouts. I got to go to practice. I'm not missing. I'm more of a person that's like, I don't want to miss anything. I want to do all that I can to get better. But at the same time, I think you need to just let your kid be like open to conversation and feel that I can talk to you and be like, Mom, I need a break, instead of being like, oh no, do I tell my mom that I need a break, or what do I do? It's like, I feel open to, if I need to say, Mom, I really don't want to go to school today. It's not that she's just like, lets me do whatever I want, but she will just be like, she'll have a conversation with me and she'll be like, what's going on? Like, what do you need from me? Do I need to help you with anything? And I'm just like, sometimes I just need a break, and that's the best thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay, so here let's pivot a little bit. We're talking about the pressure of sports, the pressure of, we haven't really even talked about like the whole friendship, peer pressure, all of that you're navigating, all teenagers are navigating, especially girls. The pressure of academics. If I was to ask you, how can I best pray for you, trying not to be drawn to tears, what would you say?
I would say just like, for me to, I feel like as a teenage girl, it's so easy to be quick to anger, and it's so easy to be quick to just like be judgmental, and because girls are just, I mean, it's just kind of like the stereotype. It's just a teenage girl, gossip, and all these things, and I think that for me, it's like I just want someone to pray for me of like not being quick to judge others, and like people are going to mess up, and girls are going to talk behind my back, and girls are going to be mean to me, but at the same time I need to be like, hey, if that girl's talking behind my back, I'm not going to talk behind her back. Because what's good in hearing that someone's talking behind your back and then you getting mad, but then thinking to yourself, oh, but I'm talking bad about her. I feel like what my mom always teaches me is always be the nice person, because you never know what someone's going through. So I would say the best thing you can do for me is just to like pray that I will just be my best, and not to just be perfect, but at the same time just be like always quick to like help others and be just like servant hearted, instead of being quick to do all the negative about someone. Because I learned this fact that it's like, you think about, I don't know what the number was, but my volleyball coach told me that you think about you have all these thoughts, and I think it was 85% of your thoughts are negative, and that's just like thinking on like how so many of your thoughts are so negative is so just like hard to think about. And when you hear someone talking bad about you, you can go from, oh, that girl's talking bad about me, I don't like her, I don't want to talk to her again, or be like, hey, what is she going through? Because majority of the time when people are judging you, it's because they have something in their heart that they judge themselves on. So I think that you can help other people by not talking behind their back and being an example of a girl that's just not going to gossip and not going to talk behind other people's backs and stuff.
Yeah. Be a grace giver, right? Yeah. I love that. Okay. Here's some questions a little bit about me that people wanted to know. Some of them I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask this. But first, we'll start easy. What's it like having a mom with an unconventional job? So you actually saw this question. You're like, huh? And so that just means like I don't go to the office 9 to 5. I work, and I work hard, and I'm very driven. But obviously I work from home. I travel. I have some flexibility. So what's that like for you?
I would say that like for her working from home, I mean, it like because some days, like if I'm sick, it's nice because she'll be at home and she's like always like available. But I mean, at the same time, like I don't want people to think just because she works from home, she's always available, because I just think that, I mean, like the other night I was in a volleyball game and I didn't see her in the stands. I was like, where is she? Like, where is she? Like, I don't know where she went. I knew she was in the parking lot. She dropped me off. I don't know where she went. And then I found out she was on a work call, and I'm like, but I totally accept it. I'm like, it's fine. Like, she has to work. In order for me to do all that I can do, I need my parents to work. And so I think that, like, I just feel, I don't really know how to answer that. It's, like, kind of a confusing question. I feel like, for me, I don't really think anything of it because I know how hard she works. So whether she worked in an office or whether she worked from home, I mean, I know she works hard, so yeah.
Yeah. What about the travel part? I used to travel way more, right? So what about, how do you feel about when I was traveling more, now that I'm not, or even now when I still travel some. So how does that make you feel?
For me, I mean, the only struggle with when my mom travels is, like, I'm the only girl at home. And my dad and my brother are they help me. Like, I love them. Like, I wouldn't ask for anything else. I love my brother. I love my dad. But sometimes it's a struggle in the morning because I'm like, Dad, why are you working out? We gotta get to school at 7:15. And he's like, Coco, I'll be ready in 5 minutes. I'm like, Dad, there's no way you can get fully ready in 5 minutes. So I just think that, like, that's the only thing that I don't love when she goes out of town. But I mean, at the same time, like, she has to work. So I just have to get that, and not everything's going to be about me. So I have to be like, okay, she has to take 5 days to go work. That's 5 days. I can deal with it. I'll be fine. I'll just maybe have to get up 20 minutes earlier, but it's okay.
Make your own lunch and do all that stuff. So obviously we are cut from the same cloth, and Dad and Finn are cut from the same cloth, especially when it comes to time.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
so
yes.
Yeah, that's a struggle. Okay. These are two interesting questions. Is there anything, and be honest, I did not show you this question. Is there anything about my business, like being online on social media, that you do not like?
I would say the only thing that I don't like a ton about on the social media side of things is a lot of people will be like, oh, your mom has 100,000 followers on Instagram. Oh my gosh, like all these things. And I'm just like, she's just my mom. Like, It's not, and I don't think, I'm not like, oh, my mom has this many followers. I'm just like, oh, that sometimes people, like, not that they'll judge me by that, but they'll be like, she has so many followers on Instagram. Oh my gosh, let's go. Hopefully she takes a photo of me. It's like,
oh gosh.
It's like, okay, she's my mom. No, but none of my friends, like, will say that. Like, but I just think that sometimes that will be like, people will just be like, oh my gosh, what does your mom do? Why does she have so many Instagram followers? And I'm just like, oh, she just helps other people. I don't know.
I love that. That's so interesting. I never thought you would come at it from that angle. So the cool thing is, what I really hear you saying is, whether it's me or we have like best friends of ours that are like literally famous on different social media platforms, right? And so I think the flip side of what everyone thinks about quote unquote social media being so terrible, you get to see this really cool side of like, yeah, she's famous on TikTok, but like she's just who she is. She's like my friend.
Yes, I agree.
That's really cool.
A lot of people will be like...
I'm not famous on TikTok, by the way. I was not talking about me.
No, she's not talking about her. I feel like the one thing that it's so cool about it too, though, is people, because I feel like this day and age, the like level of what people think social media is, it's like so negative. There's so many bad things. I don't want my child to ever have social media. They should never have it until they like leave or the house, or I just never want them to have ever be involved with any social media. But I'm like, I get to see the gift of it. And my mom's like, she allows me to have social media, and I think like that's something that is kind of what I like love about one of the well, I have so many things I love about my parents, but one of the things that I love about them is that they're so like open. They're so open to things, but then they're also like, they have their boundaries, but they allow us. I feel like for me and Finn, it's like we have social media, but then my mom's like, she has the trust with me to be like, oh, if I check her phone right now, there's nothing on there that she wouldn't want me to see, or she would want to hide from me. I think that people just put such a hard plate on social media, and it's like, it can be a gift. It can really honestly be something that you can use to help and stuff. And instead of being so negative on it, I think that I get to see the gift of it instead of being like, oh, all these social media people are fake. And I'm like, no, I love these people. Oh my gosh, I love them so much. Like, we go on vacations with them. They're so sweet, instead of people being like, oh, everyone on social media is so fake and everything is just not real and it's all a lie. Like, no, it's really not a lie.
Right.
People
some of it is.
Some of it is.
But what you're also...
saying,
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just think that people put such a negative perspective on it, and it's like, it doesn't have to be negative. It can.
Well, think about, what is your social media feed? Like, what would you say when you open up your Instagram or your TikTok? What is, like, primarily, what are you consuming? Like, I would guess it would be a lot of volleyball stuff, a lot of who are the girls that I'm thinking of? Sadie, why am I blanking on her
Sadie
name?
Roberts?
Yes. And then some of those amazing Christian influencers. So, like, you're consuming some really healthy well, tell me what's on your social media feed.
I would say it's a lot of, like, well, for Instagram, it's like a lot of my friends, because I just follow them on Instagram. And then a lot of your friends I follow on Instagram. And, like, I just think it's, like, I feel like my Instagram's, like my feed is, like, light. I don't feel like I had that much darkness on it. And so I think that you can really, I feel like with social media, you can put your own perspective on it, just like everything. You can always put something negative, or you can always put something positive. I can go on Instagram being like, oh my gosh, her dress is so cute, and I love that photo of her, instead of being like, oh, I got left out. Oh, I wasn't in that photo. It's like, you don't have to think about it that way. You can think about it as, oh my gosh, I love watching this, instead of just all the negatives.
Oh, gosh, what I hear you saying, Coco, is like, we as parents try so hard to control social media when we really need to try to help our children. And I hate to use the word control, but, like, control your mind and how you're processing things and how you're responding to things, because that's the perfect example. Like, a girl at a party in a cute dress could leave you, like, envious, devastated, jealous, angry, or it can leave you, like you said, just like, oh my gosh, I love her dress.
Yeah.
That's so cute. Mom, look at her dress. And just, it's how you interpret it. And I heard somebody say this the other day, actually, at a parenting, like, social media talk. And he said, social media is neutral. Like, it's not good or bad. It's how we use it. Right?
I agree.
So how do you, and this is not from the questions, how do you, like, avoid temptation on social media? Because, I mean, you're 14 years old, Finn's 16 years old. There's all kinds of dark stuff that is, intriguing or pulling your attention or trying to kind of wrap you into this web. Like, how do you literally in that moment, if something pops up on social media, how do you guard your mind and your heart from that?
Honestly, I would say the best thing, that the way that, like, because I kind of got social media not at, like, a young age. I don't want to say, like, I got it young, but I would say that instead of, I just go into social media, like, not thinking about any of that. Like, there's what I said, like, there's so many, you can put two perspectives on anything. You can put a positive perspective or a negative perspective. And so I go into social media being like, oh, let me see what people are doing today, instead of being like, oh, let me go look at bad stuff. It's just such, like, a polar opposite. And I think that I've especially learned, because I have such a role model of my parents, that there's just, what's the point in watching it? There's nothing that you're going to get out of it. There's nothing good you're going to get out of any of it. Because honestly, what my parents have always taught me is that the things that you do and you don't think people are going to see, it will always come out. And whatever you put on social media, it will always, like, if it's bad, it's always going to come back to you. You can't hide anything from social media. If you put something on your phone, you might hit the word delete, but it's going to never be deleted.
Right.
So I just think that as a parent, navigating your child through social media is such a helpful tool. And instead of being like, because for me, I feel like if I was a parent and I was like, honey, you're not going to get social media till you're 21, or you're not going to get social media till you become an adult, then when that child turns 18 and they're going to hit install on that Instagram account, they don't even know any boundaries.
Right.
They don't know what to do. They don't know any level of, because I think the thing is, it's like, you need to teach your kid their lessons in their peak years of, like, their ages where they're going to grow up, because that's when you truly develop. Because I feel like in my, like, age right now, especially in high school, it's like, these are the things that I remember, and I'm going to remember from the rest of my life. It's not, when I turn 18, your parent's not going to always be there. Yeah. So I think that teaching your child at a younger age is such a tool, because it's like, we know that we are not promised tomorrow. Right. So it's like, why do we always hide our children from things when in reality we should be like, hey, this is social media, but and there's a lot of negative stuff. But if I can teach you to think positive and not use it as a negative tool, that's such a helpful thing for your child, and that's such something you're going to help them with, because there's so much. I feel like for me, when I turn 18, I'm just going to keep going on the path of what I feel like I'm going on right now, which is what's the point in watching all this negative stuff? I'm getting nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that giving your child the not the ability, but the freedom, but also guiding them through that freedom.
Yeah. I love that. So last question on, really, we're going to pivot a little bit from like social media specifically to just being on social media, screen time, like on your phone. So I will say that's something that like drives me crazy. And we don't put firm, again, we're always trying to figure this out, right? Like your dad and I aren't like, we don't put screen limits. I mean, we kind of do.
Yes.
You do have.
I do have screen time.
Yeah.
Screen time goes off at night, so.
Yeah. So you do have loose boundaries around that, but we're not like, here's your phone for an hour, give it back. We don't do any of that. But that's hard to get off of your phone, right? It's hard to get off of the scroll, get off of, Snapchat. I'm like, what's that thing you guys all communicate on? So how do you like make yourself get off the phone, do your homework, do what you need to do, go to bed, not stay up until midnight, all of that?
I would honestly, I feel like I've just learned a lesson from my mom. I mean, she always tells me sleep is the most important thing, and I know that. And there'll be mornings where I'll be so cranky in the morning, and my mom's like, you stayed up too late. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And so I think that it's like, I've just learned that sleep is such an important thing to me, and I go hard so much in the day that I just feel like I know that I need sleep. And so it's just like, I've kind of just taught myself to put it away instead of keep going on it.
Yeah. I also feel like I have to throw this out there. She's my easy child. So like I quote unquote teach you something like you're saying, and you just get it. I have another child that is like, it's 2 a.m. and he's still awake and I want to strangle him. So it's not always easy. It's also not like I didn't just, wave a magic wand and create this easy child. A lot of it is just who she is and who God made you, I think. So I'm super grateful for that. Okay, a couple little questions that I'm just interested in your answer because I did not ask these. Going back to like my job and seeing that and through your eyes, what are you most proud of watching me do?
I would say probably like most proud of like how you help other women, because it's like I've seen her speak and I'll just see people like bawling in the audience, and it's like how you touch on like so many people's lives. And I think for me, it's like I just see how much of an impact she has, and especially also with her, with like the addiction and all that. It's like, I think it's so amazing that I can be like, yeah, I have a mom who survived addiction, and I would not be here if she didn't. And then so it's like, I just think that it's so amazing how you like help other people to get their lives back to who they truly were made to be. And yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Okay. Gosh, here's a great one. What are some things that teens need to hear from their parents?
I would say, honestly, like just sitting your child down and having conversation, because for me, like I feel free to be able to be like, Mom, I need to talk to you about something. So I would say just like constantly talking to your child and having conversation with them, and just like helping them navigate life, because I feel like as a teenager, it's really, really hard. Life is just really, really hard because there's just two totally different paths you can take. And you can go down the path of the drugs and the alcohol and drinking and driving, and there's just so many bad things, and the vaping and all these things. And I think that just sitting your child down and being like, hey, like, you're going to go to this party, and I guarantee you there's going to be alcohol and drugs and just so many negative. And I think that for me, it's like my parents will sit me and Finn down and be like, okay, you can go to this party, but you just have to know that you're not going to drink, and you're not. And I think that I've just had so many conversations with them about how I'm not going to drink, and I'm not going to, and all and like how to navigate that stuff. And I think that that's such an important aspect to give your child, because you've gone through that step of life. And even though our world's different today, it's like, as a parent, you've gone through the teenage years and you know what the parties are like and the result of drinking and the result of drinking and driving, because I mean we know people who have died of that type of stuff. And so it's just, I think having conversation and teaching and like really teaching your child like how to just navigate through the hardness of the teenage life is something that's so important, because I feel as my parents are a tool to me instead of something that it's like I need to stay away from. Whoa, like I don't want to talk to my parents. I don't want to tell them anything. It's like I feel like I can be like, Mom, there was drinking. What do I do? What should I do to navigate through all of this? My friends are drinking. How do I get myself out of those relationships, and how do I build them up? But also just that type of stuff. Yeah. So I think it's really being a parent oriented around helping your child instead of helping, like putting them down.
Yeah.
And being like, you're not going to the party, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And obviously, as parents, you're going to have to say no to things, and you're going to have to, I mean, there's things that she probably won't let me do, and I'm not going to do that, but I've had so many conversations with them, so I just know what I don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And gosh, I feel like I need to have your brother on this podcast. Yeah. So everyone sees the flip side of like, I also have a kid that like I talk to a ton, but he doesn't necessarily talk back, right? So like I get that there's so many parents out there that struggle with like, how do I talk to my child when I feel like they're not listening, you know, because I have that at home too. And that's just a whole nother podcast. We're going to wrap with these two questions. What are you trying to improve upon this year? What are your goals? Do you have goals?
Yes, I do have goals. I have a bunch of different goals. Like I have different like types of goals, like volleyball goals, I would say. Just for like my club team is I really want to make it back to nationals, because we went this year and it was so fun. And for school, I would just say to like do my best and not put such a academic like criteria on myself, and not be so hard, and just be like not as hard on myself. And then I would say personal goals is just to be a light to others. I mean, because you never know what someone's going through, and if you can be that little piece of light to someone that day, you can make their day. You might not know that you made their day, but that is such a light to other people. Is just for you to walk in a room and someone to be like, oh, look, there's Coco. I'm going to go talk to her, because I know that she's going to bring me up, and she's going to build me up, and we're going to talk, we're going to have good conversation and not negative conversation. So just kind of being like a light to my friend group and a light to other people. And yeah.
I love that. And ironically, I am always, that's one of my most fervent prayers for you, is that your light, which is so bright, to never let the world take that away from you. And that's something I always pray over you. Okay, last question. What brings you joy?
I would say, I mean, I feel like almost everything. I feel like I try to find joy in everything. So it's, I mean, I don't know, friends bring me joy, volleyball brings me joy, my parents bring me joy, hanging out with my brother brings me joy, and just hanging out with friends, and just doing things that I know are good for my mental health, and just God brings me joy, going to church brings me joy, all the things, yeah.
I love that. Which leads me, to one last question. We've touched on it a little bit, but how do you think faith like shows up in your life? Like I know for me, I can't fathom life without my relationship with God, with Jesus. But how does that play a part in your life?
I would say for me, it's like I always talk with my friends on how it's just like such a gift that we have, because I mean, there's people out there who they don't have what we have, or they don't have the gift to play volleyball, or there's people who are paralyzed, and there's just so many. There's always a worse. There's always something that is like there's always something that's worse. And I think that for me, it's like I had to be like, wow, like I was given this gift by God. Like He really works in my life, and He really helps me to be the best that I possibly can be, and just always putting Him first, and knowing that none of this is me, it's always Him, and I'm working for an audience of one and not the audience of the rest of the world. And so also tying that into like friendship and like girls and stuff, it's always, you always want what you don't have. And so being like, oh, she's so pretty. I wish I was like her. I wish I looked like her, or I wish my hair was blonder, or all these things. It's like, no, like, this is how God created me. I'm not this other girl. I'm never going to be her because I wasn't made to be her. So, I just think that it's also like he gave us such a call in our lives, and everyone's call is going to be different. And so, you're maybe not going to be, someone might be, God might give the gift of someone being a millionaire, but then you might be not that. It's just, you have to balance of God gave me this gift, instead of being like, oh, I wish I was her, or I wish I had this or that. It's like, no, what you have is all you need. You don't even need anything in life, because God tells us that we don't need to store up what we have on earth, because one day we'll be with him. And so I think that it's just like, instead of being so thinking on all the like earthly things, it's more of, no, I'm working for him. I'm working for one.
I love that. I feel like you probably don't even understand what a perspective you have on life because of your identity in Christ and because of your relationship, because it's just, you've had it your whole life, you know? But really it affects everything, right? It affects how you handle social pressures, academic pressures. Every single hard thing is different because you're rooted in Christ. And yes. I'm so grateful for that. Oh my gosh, Coco, I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Thank you for being on today. And thank you for just opening up your heart and your spirit. And oh my gosh, I know that everyone is going to be so anxious to listen to this and to watch it. And you are really such a gift to the world. I'm so grateful. And I don't know how in the heck I got to be your mom, but I'm so grateful for it. So thank you for being on.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you too.
Well, guys, that's it. If you want, share this episode, tag me. You can tag Coco too, but let us know what your thoughts are. I know that you do, Coco, love to hear just what is like how things impact people. So definitely you guys tag me or us and just share with us what this meant to you, how it may have helped you. And if you have any other questions, let us know. I am also, because so many questions came in for this episode that were much more geared towards me as like my thought process around parenting. So we're going to do a whole nother episode on parenting just from my perspective. So thanks for joining, guys, and we will see you next week.